Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope everything is good and great and wonderful and fantastic. And I hope you had a great and wonderful weekend. Considering the news we got in America, I think it was a good weekend. Um, I got the Chromebook, so we might as well talk a little bit about the book currently that I'm working on. The I haven't told you the present working title is Dawn Walker. Um, and I'm presently sitting at 15,205 words. If you're following the NaNoWriMo recommended word count of 1,667 words per day, I should be at 15,001 word today, so I'm 204 words above the count. And I will tell you that this is not the first attempt I've ever made at writing a novel, but this is by far the farthest I've ever made. I've written I've written lots of 3 to 5,000 word stories. I wouldn't necessarily call them short stories because I wouldn't really consider them to be completed thoughts. They've just been more like I've started some shorter stories and hit that range. I've written a few 8,000 word stories, 8 to 10,000 words, like complete short stories in the past. But this is the first time I've written 15,000 words of anything. I'm having fun doing it. What I have realized, though, this isn't, this isn't the only thing I've been doing. I'm at 15,000 words, and I could probably be closer to 20 to 25,000 words if I really wanted to. I already know the next few chapters. I've already got them kind of pre-planned in my head, which is a significant amount of planning for me. There's probably 3 to 6,000 words worth of material in my head right now that I could just quickly type it if I really wanted to. But I'm not. I'm taking it day by day based on the recommendations or the targets for NaNoWriMo, because that gives myself that little bit of leeway to kind of, I know what's going to happen. And so while I'm working on today's writing, I can be thinking about, the future. And what's also come of that is the book has changed dramatically from what I thought it was going to be. When I started writing it, I thought it was going to be this story, this, a guy goes to, find something story, and it's turned into more of a guy is on his way to find something when the world interferes, and now he's over here because he has to he has to resolve this before he can continue on. And my hope, my concern is I don't know if this little side story is big enough to fill a book. So I don't necessarily know if I want to write a whole bunch of filler, or if I want to compress all of this side stuff and move on to the bigger story. Haven't figured that out yet. I'll get to it when I get to it. Right now I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to keep writing. But what I've really noticed is now that I'm this far into the process, now that I've written 6 chapters that are solid, I've realized just how much writing changes the way I read, because I'm still reading. So, I got off on the wrong tangent. What I meant to talk about there was this is not all I've been doing in my free time. I've only been spending like an hour or two on this book a day because I only have to write 1,667 words, and it doesn't really take that long to write that much. The most time I spend in the chair thinking is when I'm working on dialogue, because then I have to really think about who the character is and what their voice is like, and what their motivations are behind what they're saying, and I have to work all that out. The stuff in between, just banging it away. Like I can see in my head where everything is happening. I just gotta describe it to you. So I'm still reading. I'm still reading a lot. Right now I'm working on a book called, I think, White Tower. It's a self-published book that came on some lists, and I thought I'd give it a shot. Probably won't finish it. I'm not really reading it to finish it, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I've been picking books off my bookshelf and just opening to random pages and just kind of reading pages, because as I'm writing this, I recognize that editing is easy. It really is. Once this is written, once I have the whole book written, I'm going to go back through and probably destroy most of what I've already written and rewrite it. Because, just in these first 6 chapters, the way that I wrote chapter 1 is stylistically very different from the way I'm writing chapter 6. So I have to at least stylistically go update chapter 1. And also a lot of sentence structure and word choice. It'll all have to get kind of abused and molded and used to turn it into something that I'm proud of. But I'm trying, as I go through this process, to write cleaner and cleaner, so that by the end, hopefully, the goal is if this book is publishable, great. If it's not, I'll start the next book, and the goal is to eventually get to the point where my first draft is pretty solid without me having to do a whole bunch of that line editing, fixing word usage and style changes. Hopefully I can have all of that stuff worked out. So while I'm thinking about those things, while I'm thinking about, okay, how do I represent sound? How do I represent characters' thoughts? How do I represent, how often do I tell you blah, 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 comma, he said, blah, 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 comma, she said? Can I skip that? How often can I skip that? How often do I need to use the main character's name in a paragraph? Do I put it in every sentence when I first mention him, or do I put it at the beginning of the paragraph and every other time I use a pronoun? All of these weird little writing things that you don't think about as a reader, generally, I have to now start paying close attention to. So I've been just pulling books off and reading parts of books, reading random pages, I've been going back through some books that I love to see stylistically how authors handle certain things. And then the overall, I'm also looking at the narrative approach. I'm looking at, is this a 3-act, 4-act, 5-act? Like, how did they pull this off? I tweeted something the other day about the book that I'm writing is a 3-act book. It's a standard. There's a problem. Here's the build-up. Here's the finale. And what I've realized is that each chapter in my book is a 3-act chapter, essentially. Each sequence, not necessarily chapter, but just sequence, each fight is a 3-act fight. That's how you get a reader involved, is you start building tension and then you resolve it. And then you start building tension and something else comes up, build tension, resolve, build. Conversations with people in the book work the same way. We start talking, I'm trying to get some information out of you, you don't want to give it up, now we start building some tension as I start kind of giving you the ultimatum, and then we finally decide, oh no, hold on, we're on the same side, here's the, I've realized just how much the 3-act structure is repeated. It's almost fractal. It's almost just a book is an amalgamation of millions of or thousands of little 3-act plays. And I see it now when I'm reading. And it doesn't necessarily harm my enjoyment of reading, but it's something that little lights in my head go, oh, that's cool. Oh, that I'll pick that. Oh, that I can chunk out and maybe save that for later. I find that to be really kind of fascinating. And I believe it's like that with any skill. I mean, I used to play golf, and while I couldn't stand to watch golf on TV, if I watched somebody else play golf, I could pick out things that they were doing that I wasn't, and I could go, oh, I'm going to try that. With anything, any skill. If you want to make something in a workshop like mine, watch YouTube videos, and you will find all kinds of little things that people don't talk about that will help you in that pursuit. I'm doing the same thing with writing, just by reading. Hopefully it goes somewhere. I'm pretty confident at this point. I really like this story. I really like this character. I really like the world that I set up for it. I want to continue. So I'm excited about it. That's all I have for you today. I've got to go take Monster to a little soccer event tonight, and probably get something to eat. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you, and I will see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is demagogue. It is a noun meaning a politician who owes his popularity largely to pandering to popular opinion and catering to the wishes of his consistency. That's timely. A demagogue is a person with whom we disagree as to which gang should mismanage the country. Don Marquis, an American journalist and humorist. Demagogue. Demagogue. Just got rid of one of those.